Colleges go full mental defective, moving to all online courses and raising tuition while offering less service and access. Gives you a newfound respect for used car salesmen and televangelists, doesn't it now? I'm Dr. Duke, she's Katie, and this is the Dr. Duke Show. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Dr. Duke Show, the only program that keeps you educated on the craziness impacting K-12 classrooms and college campuses around the world. Today, we're heading back to campus. Well, actually, we're kind of not. We're on Mom's computer in the basement going back to campus, where it appears many schools have decided not only to move classes online, but either maintain their already high tuition or force kids to pay even more, while providing less instruction, less contact time with professors, less on-campus interaction. You get the picture. The University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign, New York University, the University of Southern California, and Indiana University are among several universities raising tuition and other fees for the upcoming academic year. Include add Baylor to that list, where my niece goes. And besides raising tuition, a number of these schools are implementing COVID fees, right?
Yes, the necessity to increase the cost because we have to do not more work, but just different work. But that legitimizes why you need to pay COVID fees. So a lot of these different universities are increasing by a certain percentage or just a straight dollar amount. So for example, there's going to be a $50 per term, which means $100 per year COVID-19 fee at the University of Michigan. So their Board of Regents actually approved this budget. The tuition is going to go up by 1.9% overall. Think about that. 1.9%. Your tuition's going up. You're not even going to be there. According to the new measure, tuition will increase to the annual rate of $15,520 for in-state students. Okay, that's in-state.
In-state.
But if you come from any of those other states, $51,000.
Yeah, let's pause there for a second.
For non-residents.
If you're a Michigan citizen, it's $15,000. If you are from any other state in the union, you're paying almost $52,000 just for tuition. And here's where it gets tricky. So if you're an illegal alien in Michigan, that's a big deal. If you're getting that, and people who live in Arizona or live in Vermont or Wisconsin who want to go to the University of Michigan are paying over 3 times as much. It's pretty staggering when you think about it. And then you add these fees on. And I got to point out to you, too, in almost every instance, this money that they're raking in over and above what the ordinary tuition costs are, it's not going to the teachers, and it's not going to the students. I mean, on campus, some of that money, if you were on campus, would have gone to student organizations and student activities, but they're not having those anymore. So all of that money is going more or less to the administration, right?
Yeah, so for Michigan specifically, because they're saying they're going to approve also a 1.9% increase in the on-campus housing rates in the university health service fee. So because they're actually going to, at least for now, have students around, that's why they need this quote-unquote temporary $50 per term COVID-19 fee. And they're claiming that it's going to be used to cover testing and other safety services. Other safety services means condoms for everyone.
Well, virtual
That's
condoms.
Safety. Well, no, but they're going to be there, so safety for them.
Safety for them, yeah. The whole thing is bizarre. I mean, you would think, and Michigan, they consider it the public ivy, right? What's the public ivy? It's the number one.
According to who? Boo.
It's the number one rated public institution in the country.
Badgers.
The Badger? Oh,
Sorry. Boo.
Yeah,
I know you're a Buckeye. I get it.
Right. I mean, so the one thing you a Badger and me a Buckeye can agree on is that Michigan sucks.
Michigan sucks.
All right, so we're there. And this is a story that proves just how much they suck. Yeah. $52,000 worth of suck if you happen to be a non-online. And here's the thing. They're all technically non-residents, I mean, in a sense. Yeah. So because it's a computer portal. Does it really matter if you're taking classes from Lansing? Or you're taking it from Flagstaff, Arizona?
Well,
does it really matter?
And see, that's the thing. So for them, they're on campus. For a lot of different universities, all the ones that you had just mentioned earlier, and how they are going to go online completely. So if they are online completely, and I live in Arizona and I go to, Indiana? We'll just go neighboring state. If I'm from Arizona and I go to Indiana, does that mean I'm still paying non-resident fee and I'm back in Arizona, but everyone's at their house, so they're not, it makes absolutely no sense.
You also have universities like Harvard. I mentioned the public Ivy aspect of Michigan. They're very proud of that. We're like year in and year out, they're number 1, 2 public school in the country.
Sure.
But they have a huge endowment too.
Of course.
And as we know, Harvard University has $40 billion.
Wait, say it again. I didn't hear that.
$40 billion sitting in the bank, untaxed, right? And so when schools like Michigan jack up prices when they could afford in this time of crisis, when we all must come together, we're all in this together, you know.
Imagine.
You would think they would cut into, maybe just take a year or two's interest paid on those huge endowments to lower tuition for everybody. You think that's a possibility? No.
Untaxed and untapped.
No.
Harvard instead, because it's Harvard, they're going to go to online coursework.
All online. So no one will be on campus.
So get that. I'm a Harvard student. Online. I'm also going to still be paying $50,000 for this tuition. I mean, this fall semester is going to be $24,827, which is the same as it would be for on-campus learning. They're trying to like sales pitch it, like, hey, same deal, still having to pay $25,000 for one semester. That's insane. But they're also going to be charged just over $2,100 in fees for this semester. So you're going to be paying just about $27,000.
$27,000 for one semester of non-campus.
And that doesn't include then they're not going to be on campus, so they're not paying any housing
or tuition.
So that's just what they pay, like base pay. That's insane.
What kind of blows me away is that you're looking at almost $50,000 a year in tuition, which is less than you pay to go to Michigan if you're an out-of-state student.
That is a little nuts.
Why in the world would anybody go to Michigan? Now, I'm sure there's a lot of financial aid, right, that gets paid to some of those students who come. And it also makes you wonder. Think about if you're a football player at Michigan University of Michigan. How much is that? And a lot of those players come from out of state.
Yep.
If Michigan was only able to recruit Michigan football, they'd be like Purdue, right? How many years have they lived off Ohio football recruits? Desmond Howard, right?
Hey, Desmond Howard.
Charles Woodson. How many years?
2 Green Bay Packers. Let's talk about it.
There you go. Woo.
We have another state that is implementing different things with their college tuition, but in this instance, they're actually going to make college less if you're an illegal immigrant, that is. Virginia law just announced, or not just announced, but just passed a law. The blackface governor over there, Mr. Ralph Northam. He actually signed a new law, and it makes college tuition cheaper for illegal immigrants than it would be cost for you, an American citizen, in some instances. So basically, if you're an illegal, cheaper college. If you're a citizen, give us the money. HB 1547 and SB 935, so the House bill, the Senate bill, they passed their respective chambers. Then they reconciled. The legislation went into effect July 1. And it says, in order to qualify for the discounted tuition rate, the prospective student must have attended for at least 2 years a public or private high school in Virginia, been homeschooled in Virginia, or passed a high school equivalency test. The bill requires students to provide proof of income tax returns for at least 2 years prior to the date of registration or enrollment. And here's the next part. Students who meet these criteria shall be eligible for in-state tuition regardless of their citizenship or immigration status.
So if I'm an illegal immigrant in the state with no visible educational record, one of the criterion is that if you do that, if you pass a high school equivalency test, you're in, right?
Yeah, your GRE kind of thing.
How do you get 2 years of anything from those people?
GED.
In other words, not only is it cheap, will it be cheaper in some instances for illegal immigrants to go to school at these places, it will be easier for them to get in. Right?
And the thing is, Virginia's not unique in this.
No.
It's just that they're what they're calling the first southern state to actually do this. There are 20 other states who have already implemented this type of thing already. And it was kind of interesting, perspective that was provided by Mike Howell, who's the senior advisor for executive relations at the Heritage Foundation. And this is the important part, a former Department of Homeland Security Oversight Council. Okay, he had some words to say. He says, not only is it absolutely terrible policy to give illegal aliens in-state tuition, it is illegal. Federal law abides that you cannot give in-state tuition to illegal aliens on the basis of residency in the state. Northam is breaking the law. In addition to that, he's breaking the law for a completely awful purpose. It is a slap into the face to the Virginia students and to the parents who are footing the bill and to the taxpayers who are footing the bill.
And all of that's true, and none of it matters.
Exactly,
right? Nobody cares anymore. As a matter of fact, now you've got Donald Trump, who John Roberts did his little sleight of hand, and DACA was allowed to keep going, even though it was completely executive ordered into existence by Obama. All President Trump tried to do is use his presidency to
executive order
it, right? Thank you, John Roberts. But here's the question that I have for you. The quote from Mike Howell. Not only is it absolutely terrible policy to give illegal aliens in-state tuition, it is illegal. Since we're not allowed to use the word illegal, what do we call that? Is it undocumented? Could you rewrite the sentence this way?
How dare he?
Not only is it absolutely terrible policy to give undocumented residents in-state tuition, it is undocumented.
It's nowhere to be found in the document. I'm so confused.
It's amazing, isn't it? And the fact is that we're engaging in this kind of wordplay because it's a done deal.
Of course.
Universities have decided that non-citizens have a greater right and require greater impetus, greater solicitation on the part of the state to go to public schools in these states.
Well, and here's what Yannette Limon Amato, who's an organizer with the Virginia Interfaith Center for Public Policy, says, and this is very telling of kind of what you're getting to. This win is for all undocumented, there it is, undocumented students in Virginia. They have spent countless days participating in rallies and testifying in committee hearings at the General Assembly. Once
again, Mom and Dad, I think you're paying a huge bill. Your tuition keeps going up in part to let these kids in because they clearly, in most instances, don't have the money to do it themselves. They're going to get waived right in. So you're literally paying an undocumented immigrant tax to send your kids to school, right? You're paying an illegal alien income tax to be able to get these kids into school. And if you complain, well, just remember, brown lives matter too.
Why leave Virginia when they have more silliness happening? Also happening in Virginia at Emory and Henry College, they're going to possibly change their mascot. Why? Why would they want to change their mascot? What's so offensive about a wasp? A wasp. Yeah, like bzz, wasp, kind of like a bee, but not. Well, they say because, WASP also stands for white, Anglo-Saxon, Protestant, and usually male. So the Young America's Foundation got a hold of emails between the president, Dr. John Wells, and an alumni director, Monica Howell. And in these emails, they're discussing that they may need to change not only the WASP, but also the whole name because Emory and Henry are previous slave owners. So, we might have to change the whole name. We're going to have to change the name of buildings. All of this in email form. So Young America's Foundation got a hold of these emails, and they said that Howell said, Little WASP itself isn't offensive, but the acronym WASP, WASP, stands for White, Anglo-Saxon, Protestant. And then also said that it sort of cuts both ways, and it stands to make us seem exclusive of those not in the category, WASP. And it also says, like, an interview this weekend where, they describe someone as being WASP-y, I don't think it means that she was terribly cool or open-minded. And then there's a smiley face in the email.
Because cool is one of those categories that I want my alumni in talking to the president of my college about. We got to make sure that our kids are cool, right?
Cool, hip happening.
The other thing about this that's so troubling is that it's this idea here that I can guarantee you that not 1 in 500 of my students could tell you what WASP stood for. I mean, that is such a 1950s thing.
And yet I learned it.
Not 1 in 500 kids. I guarantee you my college kids have no idea what that means.
They don't know what anything means.
I know. It's all completely made up, right? It's all completely made up. And you'd think that wasps sting people. You'd think they could find better reasons. And to elevate that to alongside the position of, and by the way, Emory and Henry also own slaves.
Also that. So we may have to change not only the name of the whole college, we're going to have to change some building names. You could find a reason to change anything and everything. And so that's the path we're going on.
Well, but that's the point, isn't it?
Oh, that's the point.
That's the real lesson in all of this. Everybody's guilty of everything. Every aspect of our culture is guilty of something. And so consequently, it all has to be changed. And someone's got to stop this, and clearly it's not going to be your academics. Your academics are 150% behind this.
Well, as Monica however she says her name, wrote...
I kind of like Hole.
Hole? She wrote...
She a front hole?
I don't know. Teaser. She wrote, it's a pickle, for sure. Now, pickles are offensive to some people. I'm sure.
It's taking
it's very phallic.
Perfectly environmentally lovely cucumber.
An innocent cucumber.
And drowning it in brine. I mean,
how
dare you?
Covering it in dill. Well, Kara Zupkis, who actually writes for the Young America's Foundation, she said, the college's mascot is clearly in reference to a wasp, the literal insect, not a white Anglo-Saxon Protestant. This school's administration is seeking out any and all reasons students may be offended by something. A bug seems like it should be the least of their worries.
Is this any dumber than we did about a month ago, the story of the University of Virginia, the Cavaliers, who had a certain
Another Virginia?
They had crossed sabers on their helmets. And because of the handles of the crossed sabers, they actually believed this was some kind of a tie to the Confederacy. So this is the kind of micromanagerial stupidity. Oh, and by the way, you want to know why places like Baylor and Michigan are raising your tuition due to COVID? Because you got to pay administrative directors, diversity officers, hundreds of thousands of dollars a year to spend every day worried about this stuff.
And now we have some time to get some real education. Gian Lorenzo Bernini's sculpture, The Ecstasy of St. Teresa, was completed for the Cornaro Chapel in the Church of Santa Maria della Vittorio in Rome in 1652. The effects are theatrical, as the Cornaro family who commissioned the sculpture observed the scene from their boxes. The chapel illustrates the moment St. Teresa experiences a mystic union with God in the presence of an angel.
And it really is. This is considered to be the greatest sculpture of the Baroque period. And I think there's a lot of truth to that. I mean, if you take a look at the picture there, you have this incredible work of marble where you have on the left there an angel he holds in his hand, his right hand, an arrow, which is to symbolize the arrow of love that will pierce her heart from God. And then you've got the visionary, the mystic medieval saint, the 16th century saint, Saint Teresa of Avila, leaning back, almost floating in the air in an absolute ecstasy of joy. She is a mystic, which means that she prayed and in a very emotional way, and she had an incredibly deep, profound emotional connection with God that transformed her, that elevated her, that put her in a kind of God-driven trance. And you can see how beautiful the sculpture is. The angel, the look on the face of the angel is almost tender and loving, almost envying Teresa, the kind of closeness she's about to experience with God. And there you can see Teresa. Go to the third shot, Mike, and you can see just how gorgeous her face is, right? She is levitating in the air. She is her head thrown back. She is receiving the fullness of God into herself. And that imagery there, that profound statement of mystical. This is very counter-Reformation. You may recall that 1519 Luther nailed his theses, and the Protestant Reformation began. And one of the things that the Protestant Reformation did was try to do away with these kind of artistic and emotional images of God and Christ and life and death and the crucifixion. Much more sober and much more stoic was the new Protestantism. And so by 1543, you had the Council of Trent, and you had the Counter-Reformation. How did the Roman Catholic Church counter the Reformation? By doubling down on the emotive nature of human relationships with God. It's not just an intellectual construct. If it consumes all of our soul and mind, it should also consume all of our emotional energy as well. And if you go back to that picture of St. Teresa, you have a wonderful, wonderful image there of that kind of a union. To say nothing of the fact of how technically brilliant Bernini's sculpture is, and it is. He was a real master. I mean, you look at the clothing of Teresa. That's marble. I mean, it's marble that looks literally like it is some sort of a coarse cloth on the great saint, but it's not. And this kind of sculpture is a difficult thing to do. And when you think about the size of the thing and the scope of it, it really is beautiful. If you ever get to Italy, definitely make Bernini's Ecstasy of St. Teresa one of those things that you definitely want to stop and see.
All right, as always, you can follow us on Facebook and Parler. And if you have a question for our Friday Q&A, visit freedomproject.com/askduke or send us a message on social media. As a reminder, Freedom Project Academy's live online school is enrolling new students right now. And due to the unprecedented number of families contacting us these past 6 weeks, we've decided to extend our enrollment window for 1 more week. So you have now until July 24th, but that's it. 1 more week ending July 24th. So please request your free packet at freedomforschool.com. That's freedomforschool.com. Now we're going to wrap things up with our fun fact of the day. Wasps are everywhere, except Antarctica. And it makes sense, by the way. A new colony is actually started each spring by the queen. So you have the queen. She's going to lay maybe up to 50,000 eggs just in one summer. So she's a busy lady. And then in the fall, all of her workers, which are all the males, die. And then only a few new queens will survive so that they can then, keep the cycle going. So they'll burrow in for the winter and then it all begins again. Girl power.
So girl power is where the men do all the work and die young.
And the babies the queen has to lay all 50,000 babies.
So the queen.
I'll work and you lay all the babies.
You said
Sounds
that
good.
they're not in Antarctica, right?
Not in Antarctica.
Typical, right?
It's cold.
She won't live in the cold. She lays on her butt the whole day. The men do all the work and die young.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. That's girl power indeed. And that's our show. For Freedom Project, I'm Dr. Duke. She's Katie. Until next time, stay educated, my friends.